Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. You are joining us for the Greenland Debate Night with live election coverage. I'm your moderator for this evening, Joey Cox. We will start a series of debates very shortly, including debates from Aiden Ketchum and Evan Dwyer, Kobe Henderson and Evan Rostek, and finally, Halia Dice and Andy Zalls. The rules for this evening are as follows. I, the moderator, will be asking questions that have not been previously seen by me or any party officials. Each candidate will have 1 initial minute to take their points and answer questions before entering into a 3-minute period of full debating. These time restrictions are very strict and will be enforced. I, the moderator, is entitled with the duty of asking official questions and keeping track of time. I will not be asking any follow-up questions or giving reactions to any comments as to not show bias onto any particular party. And now everyone, please welcome our welfare representatives, Aiden Ketchum from the Congressionalist Party and Evan Dwyer from the Societalist Party. Gentlemen, please take your seats. And we're going to start with our first set of questions for this evening. Now, our current government has recently come up with a reasonably unanimous decision to increase the construction of low-priced housing to better support the members of our society, in which those who may not have as much wealth as another person can still thrive in our society. What are both of your opinions on this decision, and where would your administration take this moving forward? Aiden Ketchum, you may start us off.
So, Mr. Cox, and all of our other Greenlandic citizens, I just want to say that as a Congressionalist, it is my belief that housing is not just a want. In our society, it is a need. One cannot just live on the streets. That is not how humans should be treated. Everyone should have the right to a home. As we have seen with the previous administration of our governor, we've been lowering housing prices to make it more affordable for the average person to be able to even just live in a home. It is still absolutely horrible that so many people are homeless right now. With our administration, we promise to cut housing prices down to prevent realtors from bringing up these prices to such unimaginable levels and just making it so no one can even imagine.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Aiden, thank you. And now we're going to send it over to Evan. Let's hear your response on that question.
I believe that affordable housing is, of course, reasonable and needed in this country. If people don't have houses, then we barely have people in the country. I think, however, some stances that Mr. Ketchum may be taking in this situation, not to disregard his intelligence or ideas, but I think that instead of trying to lower prices of housing, we should help to get people into jobs and help them make more money so that they can afford these houses. If we make all of the houses too cheap, then the people who make the houses won't have any money either, and then they'll all be homeless. We need to think about this in the long term and not the short term thoughts. I do think everyone having a house is completely reasonable, but we don't want to make so many houses that we don't want to make a bunch of houses and then the people who build them have no money left, and then there's no one to live in any of the houses.
All right, that's actually perfect timing right there. That's your minute. And now I'm going to open it up to the 3-minute debate session where you two will talk about your views and debate on that. And that starts right now.
All right, I'd like to start here. And I would like to say, Mr. Dwyer, that you brought up a very good point. The people that are building these houses need something to actually give them a living wage. And that is something that many people, as we know, are also struggling with. But our plan is to nationalize the house building industry. We are going to make it so we are not firing these people, I must say. We are nationalizing the industry, absorbing all of these people into the government. They will be federally paid jobs. Their wage will not go down just because housing prices are going down. That is why we are planning to make housing free. It's going to be a human right. a house will be provided when you are of age to own one. That way, people can have these jobs and not have to worry about so much of their money going to housing. And we'll be able to provide for the people building these houses.
How do you intend to make these houses free if there's no people working the jobs?
We'd be having all of the people that are currently building houses for these companies would be absorbed into the government, and all of these workers would become federal workers paid for by the government at a standard wage that would only increase due to inflation and not go down.
If you intend to pay builders through the government, won't that take money away from already existing programs like healthcare and other important things for the country? Because I think that people should be allowed to live in houses, but if they can't live at all, then what's the point?
Well, so what we plan to do is increase these social programs at the same time. Now, I know your point saying that we don't have the money. What I'm trying to say is, I know a lot of you guys are not going to appreciate this. However, as you said, we need to think long-term and not short-term. Increasing taxes on the wealthy, not the working class, will allow us to be able to pay for these social programs and pay these workers that are building our houses for our people. We are not going to leave these people in the dust to rot and die. We are going to save them from homelessness and abandonment by their government.
But how do you plan on saving them from healthcare problems?
Well, as I said, we'd be increasing the social programs and making, as just I said, housing is a natural right. Medical care should be even more of a natural right. One should not have to suffer simply because they don't have the money.
How do you feel about the... What was I going to say? How do you feel about, like, defense systems in our country? How do you feel that we should protect ourselves? Because...
All right, gentlemen, we're getting a little off track here, and the 3 minutes is up regardless anyways. So after that question, we're going to move on to our next question. This is kind of about security in our country, as you're kind of starting to get to. You know, in our society, a large group of people feel endangered by our government's current stance on the safety of its citizens. What is something that you would say to these people, and what actions would your party make in order to address this issue? We'll start with Aiden.
Thank you, Joe. So, our plan is we have a multi-part plan. First, we are going to strengthen the police force. Our country is rampant with crime, especially in I'm not trying to be offensive to these people, it is just how it works. It is very common in low-income neighborhoods because it is so hard to make it that people are having to resort to these things. And I honestly find it incredibly sad and not disappointed in them. I'm disappointed in the people that made these decisions to make our country like this. Not in the previous administration of our governor, but in the people that made it like this. Our plan, strengthen the police force and strengthen our defense force, not our military, our defense force, to prevent another war, such as with Hickeyvania, from ever occurring again.
All right, that's perfect. That is 1 minute. Evan, we'll send it over to you now. What are your stance on this question?
We intend to protect the country not by a collective force of people keeping borders safe or whatever. We intend on strengthening individuals. Through our ideas and programs, we would like to have all students, K through 12, learn self-defense techniques as they grow so that they have chances to protect themselves from not just wars and people trying to kill them, but like all assault and attack related things. I feel as if and also along with that, to have more people just move into the military. Because as Mr. Ketchum was saying, he wants to increase police forces and defense forces, but I don't believe that will help with the wars that we have been going through. And if another war ever occurs with Hickeyvania or anything, the police force is not just going to immediately be like, oh yeah, let's go do all the shenanigans. They want the military to do that. So if there's no one in the military, then they can't do that.
All right, with that ends your 1 minute session. Now we will begin our 3 minute debate portion. Gentlemen, you may begin.
So I would like to say, Mr. Dwyer, that there is a difference in which I was saying between our police force and what is soon to be the established National Defense Force. The police force is dominantly for our local level problems within our country, fighting crime. However, our defense force will be specially established to make sure that an outside attack coming from a country such as Hickeyvania will never have to happen again, because either our our defense will be strong enough to deter others, or will be, in the case that a scenario like that ever happens again, will be successful enough in preventing such attacks into our own land from ever occurring again. Because no one should have to live in fear that your own brother, your children, could be being killed in useless attacks into other countries instead of just preventing it from happening, installing the attacks, and eventually coming to a peace deal through diplomatic actions to lessen bloodshed.
Mr. Ketchum, what exactly is the difference between a defense system and the military?
Well, a defense system is specially made, or is specially designed to prevent from attacks on our own country. Versus the military, as we've seen it now with Hickeyvania, we were actively trying to push into Hickeyvania. Compared to this, we'd be just maintaining the border and actively trying to seek diplomatic relations with Hickeyvania to stop more lives being lost. The military uses tactics that put people's lives at risk. Sure, actively trying to defend your country through military means does put people's lives at risk. However, it does not put them at risk unnecessarily. There is a difference. People will not have to worry that they are going to die and never return home to their families, because we will be able to prevent these attacks by having a specialized defense force in which we will pull all of the military funding that we have now, which is more than enough to fund a single defense force compared to multiple different areas of military. It's much more sustainable.
So you intend to have no military?
That is incorrect.
If another country happens to do things that we believe may cause a threat to us, without directly attacking us, how are we going to stop them if they're not in the country already?
Well, what we can do is actively seek diplomatic relations with them. We can talk it over, and if worse comes to worse and they attack us, we will use our defense force. Also, I must say, I did not say that we will not have a military. I said that we will not have a heavily generalized military to be used for any violent means.
All right, and with that, that's going to end this debate section. And with that, we're running out of time, so we're going to have to move on. So we're going to conclude our welfare section of the debate tonight. Thank you, gentlemen. You may exit your podiums now, and we'll be moving on to the next set of our debates very shortly.
Where am I going? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Greenland Debates and live election results tonight. I'm your moderator, Joey Cox, and we welcome you to the judicial debates. We're joined here by Kobe Henderson and Evan Brostek. And the same rules apply as before, and we're back to the 1 minute per argument and the 3 minutes for the total debate. So we welcome to the stage here again, as I said, Kobe Henderson and Evan Brostek. And we're going to start off with our first question. Now, in our society, one thing that plagues a section of the population is the unfavorability shown towards pets. Congressionalist members have historically not taken any action in preventing this, while societalist members have historically made many motions to address this topic. We would now like to hear from both of you as individuals to showcase what your party will be doing in regards to this subject. We're going to start off with Evan. You may begin.
Good evening. Mr. Cox, it is, of course, very imperative that we understand that our pets are a part of us. They are part of our society, and they are a key aspect in our prosperity and our happiness. it is clear to us all that we must be granting great protection to our pets and protect the injustices that are committed against them. My opponents would argue that the pets are not as important as people, and I would think that they would be monstrous to think that, but here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, we intend to propose many various legislative acts to address the injustices that our pets have been undergoing in recent times and in the past. Thank you.
All right, that was perfect timing, Evan. Thank you. We're going to send it over to Kobe. You may begin your 1 minute now.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Now, my party and I, we all agree that pets are a necessity, yes, but the kinds of pets are debatable. Now, it has been seen in our towns where people are domesticating, as my administration has said before, tigers and monkeys and things that are essentially dangerous. Now, it is in our belief that pets are a good thing, yes, but what they are being used for, not as much. When animals are domesticated to harm each other or harm others, that is a problem, and we cannot have animals running rampant in the streets, because it has been shown on a multitude of occasions where animals are being left without homes. And having animals in the streets disturbs our country as well as our people's welfare. Now,
All right, I'm going to have to cut you off there. That's your 1 minute. And I'd like to open it up now, and you may begin your 3 minute debate. That starts right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I just want to address what my opponent has currently just said. She has just referred to pets as below humans, that they are animals that do not deserve rights, in certain exceptions, supposedly. She mentions exotic animals that are causing damage, supposedly. I would like to first address that there is no such proof that animals have been causing rampant damage in our towns and cities. The fact that my opponent wishes to give exception to rights of our sacred and honorable pets is, to put it quite frankly, a disgrace. To concede to certain rights that should be given to all creatures that are alive is barbaric, and the various things that they have suggested to curb this, to try and reduce their will to survive, is beyond anything that should be considered in sane minds. We are a people that are supposed to be empathetic. We are masters of our world. Is it not beyond ridiculous to think that we should be granting no mercy to the people and to the animals that live in our very lives, in our world? Is it not insane almost to think that we are going to simply allow these innocent creatures to die and to starve and to bleed and not to live in the exact same way that people should live? Ladies and gentlemen, if we live in a world...
Sir, I have just one question for you. You said earlier that my party and I described animals as below human. I have one question for you. When did I say that?
Oh, yes, of course. You have made mention here, I believe it was that you said exotic pets were giving various damage to towns and cities, but you also made mention of the fact that that they were violent and being crudeful in their behavior. And you made this in such a way that it was a general statement. Now, I must say that this is simply not true. I would hope you would agree. We should not be succumbing to such barbarism in our minds and our souls. In fact, I would argue that it is almost inane to think that certain pets should be given lower priority than certain others, that somehow the various exotic pets are more dangerous.
I'm going to have to cut you off there. and we can confirm fact check, 35% of our people claim possession of pets, and out of those, 0.1% of those have been classified as dangerous by the International Pet Ownership Agency. So we can fact check that on that side of things. So now with our 3 minutes of debate being concluded here, we're going to move on to our last question here. Now, in our society, one thing that plagues a section of the population is the effect of climate change and the dangers to the planet that result from it. Societalist members have historically not taken any action in preventing this, while Congressionalist members have historically made many motions to address this topic. We would like to hear from both of you as individuals to showcase what your party will be doing in regards to the subject. Kobe, you may start. Your 1.5 minutes starts.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Now, in the past, my associates and I have made efforts, as Mr. Cox has said, to address the effects of climate change. Now, it was said earlier by the governor that they would do nothing to sustain our ecosystem, that it is not essential in our daily lives. Now, my associates and I do not agree with this, but we would make environments, and my apologies, environments are in fact essential to our daily lives, and many a time our environment is beneficial or detrimental to one's health. I personally have been in a situation where my environment has changed my perception of life. Now, we would address these things and make sure that our environments are sustained, not destroyed.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Evan Brostek, we're going to have to send it over to you now. If you finish up your notes there, your 1 minute to debate on this topic starts right now.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, what is our goal? It is to increase our prosperity and our general well-being. The environment is the very thing that we live in. To completely deny that our climate is changing would be preposterous. But I will testify that the effects that we can claim total control over this environment is greatly over-exaggerated by the Congressionalist Party. Of course, there is things that we should, and in fact, I would agree, we do, in fact, do. But to claim that our environment has some degree of control over us, the same way that we have control over it, would be quite arrogant of us, I would agree. To say that we alone can control the whims of Gaia herself, this is insane, people.
All right, I'm going to have to stop you there. Nice part to stop. And with those two moments to argue there, we're going to send it over back to you guys to give your 3-minute debate about this topic. So I will hand it back over, and you may debate on this final topic.
Would you like to go first, Mr. Brostek?
Oh, to you, Ms. Kobe.
Thank you. Now, earlier you said that your overall goal is to increase prosperity. Now, it is in my own beliefs that our environment does increase our prosperity. If we cannot healthily sustain our land, how are we supposed to profit from it?
Of course. Our economy is something that we held great concern over, but we have to understand that the world is not at our whim. We do not control the reins of the seas. We simply are a product of our world. To say that we have grand destiny over what the world will provide us is impossible to state. So to claim that we ought to be grandly and blindingly thrusting ourselves upon this sword, it is not possible. Of course, our climate we should be worried about, but our environment is not at our whims, and to claim otherwise is, I think, a fool's errand.
Well, my party and I have discussed, we do not control nature. We only would love to sustain nature and make sure it is thriving in our communities. We are not saying that we control nature and making it do whatever we'd wish. We are merely saying that we want to allow it to flourish as best it can.
Oh, of course, that's a noble goal, but, unfortunately, there is little we can do, really, reasonably. Now, your goal, of course, of bringing about change in positive direction is admirable, but even in a way of sustaining more agreeable climate, it's simply very unsustainable, I would have contend. To think that we even can perhaps nurture some degree of change within nature whose, nature is unpredictable and often harsh, it'd be quite a human statement of ours to say that we can influence Mother Nature herself. There you go.
Mr. Rostak, you continuously bring up the fact that we say we want to control nature. Now, that is simply untrue. My associates and I have discussed this many a time. Our environment is very important to the sustain and the welfare of our overall country. Without our environment, what is there to live for? Now, you brought up, again, how we would like to control.
All right, that's going to end our 3-minute debate. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but we're on a time crunch here. So that's going to conclude our Greenland debates, the judicial debates. Welcome back, everybody, to the Greenland debates here and the live elections tonight. We're going to move on to our governor section of the debate tonight. So this section will work a little bit differently than the previous sections that we've had before here. After the questions are asked, candidates will be given 2.5 minutes instead of 1. And after their initial statements, they will go into a 5-minute debate session instead of 2. So 3. Now before going into this, I just want to wish everybody good luck here. And our first question will be a compilation of the welfare ideas that were expressed in the previous debates. So I'm going to start off here. What is it that you as a leader will do in regards to the idea of increasing the construction of low-priced housing to better support the members of our society, in which those who may not have as much wealth as another person can still thrive in our society? Addressing the feelings of lack of safety through our citizens who don't feel protected in their lives, and addressing concerns about increased prices of goods such as food and clothing. We'll start off with Aaliyah Dice.
The Congressionalist People Party is named the Congressionalist People Party for a reason. We believe in the welfare and the safety of our people. As my welfare advisor was saying earlier during his debate, we are working on lowering the prices of housing and lowering the cost of building houses in order to make it so that everyone is able to have a place to live, no matter their economic status. Now, in order to do this, we would increase taxes on wealthy citizens of our government. Apologies. We would decrease funding to our, frankly, quite large military and turn it into one smaller military and a larger defense system, which will be much cheaper and much more peaceful in terms of intrapersonal relations with other states. Now, in order for us to make this housing cheaper, we would take the people who make houses, the workers, the strong individuals of our country, and we would bring them into a government job, federal job, where they would be paid federal pay in order to make houses. And to get that money, we would use it from the things we are decreasing, such as defense systems. Now, for goods and inflation, I would say our main policy is that everyone will have the things they need. So each month there will be checks for every person to buy, well, essentially food stamps, to buy what they need every day so that they can stay not only healthy but thrive in our country. Now, what was the third question?
Third question, which you kind of just already answered, so I'll go to the second one. Addressing the feelings of lack of safety throughout citizens.
Yes, we would make a defense system. My welfare advisor explained this earlier. Our defense system would maintain peace with other states outside of our own. However, we would still have a defense system in place to keep our citizens safe from
All right,
outside.
I'm gonna have to stop you there. Sorry, we ran out of time. So we're gonna send it over to Abby here. Your 2.5 minutes starts right now.
So our plan for housing is, like our welfare advisor said, we are going to try to increase the job availability for our nation's citizens, because it is ridiculous to make housing bare minimum free, because that's not possible for our nation to provide money like that. It's because the average price of a house is what, $200,000? We can't go from $200,000 to zero realistically. We have to make it more accessible for the people of our country to get a job to pay the $200,000 for the house. And we don't want anyone to be like homeless, obviously, because that's a bad thing to be in a situation. But we don't want to make the housing free. We don't want to make the housing, $10 or free? That's craziness, because $200,000 is a lot of money. I'll say that. But you can realistically have a job to pay for that. And so we plan to increase jobs, not lower housing. And sorry, what were the other questions?
The other questions is addressing, citizens' feelings of lack of safety, and also about their concerns with increased prices of goods and foods.
Okay, with the safety thing, our plan is to strengthen our military, not increase our military, because we have a perfectly normal-sized defense system as is. We're going to improve it and strengthen it by offering more training, starting young and going until you're of age to enter the military. So starting in, say, kindergarten, you'll have self-defense courses incorporated into your schooling, and it will be relatively simple as a child, because you are a child. And then as you progress in age, you'll have more difficult training, and then as you turn into your adulthood, you'll be ready to be in the military, and you'll be ready to be an adult, because it's more realistic to keep the military we have and just improve it than to get rid of what we have and create an entire new defense system.
All right, and that is your time. I'm going to have to cut you off there. Now I'm going to open up the floor. You may debate about these questions. You have 5 minutes, and that time starts right now.
I'd like to start, thank you, Mr. Cox. I would like to start on, first of all, your stance to create further job availability. However, one of the main points of our, how do I say this? Have you read our brilliant 32-page, have you read our 32-page manifesto?
I reviewed your 32-page manifesto, but I have in-depth read the original one that you were given.
Right. And so you should already know that we make community jobs. The point of the Congressionalist People's Party is to get more jobs out into the workforce and not only make these people in the workforce paid better, but to make them better at their jobs. We work on specializing jobs in schools, depending on where a person wants to take their talents, and then further going into university and colleges, which the government would pay for, at least in part. We can have specialized workforce in which would make our country thrive.
Where is all this money coming from? You seem to be saying the government will just pay for everything for the citizens and you'll have all this government money to pay for jobs. It doesn't, like, are you trying to make the government broke?
See, that goes perfectly into my next point. You say we have a perfectly normal-sized military. However, our military covers at least 40% of our government funding every year. If we decrease that funding to the military, which is frankly unnecessary when we can easily defend our country with, say, 10, 15% of our funding, we can easily move that money into ways that benefit the people.
Where are you getting these numbers?
Where am I getting these numbers?
Yeah, where are you getting the 40%?
Can we get a fact check?
We will have a fact check in just a moment. Our fact checker is double checking these.
Okay.
We're gonna
Well,
send it back
another
over
thing
to
I
you.
was going to do-
Continue the debate.
Another thing I was going to point out, you said, and I quote, you would be starting at a young age with military training. To me, that sounds just a bit too much like indoctrination.
Is it not indoctrination to have kids learn other things that they're taught? We're just planning on incorporating it into the basic same things that they're already learning, like how to count and how to read. They're learning simple things like just how to run at the young age. Once you're older, it's more intense. But at a young age, it's just something we're planning to incorporate, not indoctrinate.
So once these children get older, what % do you suppose would join the military?
However many are willing.
Right.
I'm not sure how many young children are eager to join the military at this point in time.
So how do you plan on making your military bigger then, if you don't think many children will join the military?
I don't think many 5-year-olds will join the military. That's what I mean when I say children. But as they grow older and are used to the training, some of them might learn to enjoy it and some of them might not. But the ones that do will plan to join the military.
Right. So you don't think that this teaching of military tactics from a young age will affect their decision at all?
I think it may, but it's not guaranteed. I think that if you learn to be more able to defend yourself, you'll learn to enjoy it more, and it will ultimately lead to you want to join the military more. But in the case of when a war comes, if we need people more than we already have, we will draft them. But if we don't need any more people, then we will not.
So how do you think that parents feel about their children being taught these military tactics, and how do you think that parents feel about their children joining the military to fight in, frankly, useless conflicts?
Useless conflicts? How do you expect to resolve conflicts if not through fighting?
If I may interject for just a moment, we do have the fact check on that. That is a true statement based on many sources. 40% of the government's funding is going to the military. You may proceed.
What were you saying?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
She was talking of, oh my god, I don't remember either. I'm so
Well, we don't have much time left.
All right.
We're just about to hit 5 minutes right now.
Well, that's all right.
So we're going to end that debate for that question. We're going to move on to our next question here. And here it is. Jurisdiction has been contested in government about issues surrounding the protection of animal ownership, the protection of wildlife and the planet, and the influence that business can have in our society. As someone who represents your party, talk to the citizens about how you will be addressing those issues as governor. Abby Zolves, you may start.
We as the societalists believe that you should be allowed to own whatever domestic animals you desire. So if you want to have a dog, you can have a dog, and you can take care of your little doggy. And what was I forgot what the other question was. I'm sorry.
Businesses.
Businesses. We believe that the businesses in our society will function most properly without government intervention. So we'll allow them to run freely. Private businesses will run freely so that they can benefit our society as much as they can in their individual endeavors. And there was a third thing, wasn't there? Hang on. What was the third thing?
No, protection of wildlife.
Protection of wildlife. We believe that the protection of wildlife has become too strict in recent years. So, if we so happen to become your, what the hell am I talking about? If you elect us, we will allow you to be more free with how you treat the environment than you already are now, because we believe it has become too confining to human life. That's all I have.
That's all you have. Well,
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
only had a minute here, so we're gonna send it over to Lily Dice. Your 2.5 minutes starts now.
Thank you. I just want to address, first of all, the Congressionalist policy on domesticated animals. Our policy on domesticated animals of the Congressionalist People's Party's policy started many years back when domesticated animals started to become more dangerous. People were domesticating things like monkeys, tigers, animals that should not be domesticated because they are wild and feral. Now, over time, we have put these laws in place to protect human beings' lives. We do not believe that pets, safe pets, should not be owned. We believe that perhaps there should be stricter regulations, but we do not believe that people should not own pets. That is strictly untrue. Secondly, businesses. The Congressionalist People's Party's always been against private businesses, and my policies are no different. Private businesses ruin people's lives. The way that people work is as a community, and excuse me, the way that humans work is as a community, and we work best with others like us. And being pushed around by these private businesses, being taken for all we're worth, being worked to the death just for someone else's gain and not your own, it's baffling, really. Now, thirdly, wildlife. The beliefs of the societalists are that our environments are unnecessary to our development as human beings, but I know that is untrue, because as people, we thrive on the environment around us, where we live, how we grow. Have you been outside on a summer day? I mean, I've been watching the gardens be built in the town square. It is beautiful. It is incredible. And those are the sort of things that societalists want to stop doing.
All right, and with that, your time ends, so we're gonna start our 5-minute debate on this topic. You may begin.
Would you like to start?
No.
Oh, well, all right. Businesses. Why do you think that private businesses are a good thing?
Because private businesses, when they run freely and they make money for their own causes, they individually succeed. And we believe as societalists that your individual success is all of our success. So our government is really thrilled to see people who are individually succeeding thriving. And private businesses, without our intervention, we believe they'll succeed the most. So when they run on their own, without us, they will push back into our society as they please, and without us affecting their individual success.
I've seen private businesses that have no government intervention at all, ruin neighborhoods, ruin towns, cities. The way that they run is strictly on the benefit of one single person and not the community they are in. The way that we would run businesses is that we would allow businesses to work and build and grow. However, we would have strict government intervention into all of their decisions, the taxes they have, everything about businesses should not be strictly up to one person. It should be a government effort in order to keep our community safe.
So you want to change people's choices on how they run their own businesses?
Well, I don't believe that businesses should be held by just one single person.
Well, they're not always run by one single person. Sometimes they're run by families or friends or just a group of people who want to work together. It's not always, and most of the time it isn't just one person. Most of the time it's a team who is making these decisions together. And to me it sounds like you just want to decide for them. So everything is your own business, not their own business. And you're against their own success.
We're against the community being extorted by singular people. Now, as teams work in businesses, small businesses, first of all, are not my main concern. They would obviously have restrictions just like any business in order to stop any sort of extortion of their community. However, larger businesses, or especially what we're going to crack down on, large private businesses work only for benefit of a small percentage of a community and not for the full community. And that is what we're all about in the Congressionalist People Party, is community and the people in the community.
So it seems like you want everyone to be the same and you don't want to reflect on everyone's own uniqueness and their success, and you want everyone to be just the same in their life. If everyone's just the same, how is that different from the whole country being lived in by one person?
That is incorrect. You're the one who wants to teach people, all children, military tactics. Our policies are that we want people to go into specialized jobs and specialized fields of work in order to pursue their own dreams.
We don't want to make everyone go to the military. We want everyone to pursue their own dreams, of course, but we want to integrate that into the curriculum so that in case of a war, we'll be ready.
Right, and how...
No, we're not saying anyone has to go to one career. Anyone can go to any career that they so happen to desire. But with the training thing, we plan on adding that to the curriculum just like there already is reading and writing and history. That's just another thing. And by having reading, writing, and history, that doesn't mean every kid has to be an author or every kid has to be a historian or every kid has to be a scientist. That's simply something they're learning in school, not what they're going into by being made to learn it.
Now, how would you say... What was that?
The dog. You don't like those.
Now, first, incorrect. Now, how would you say your stance on environment?
Of course we don't want every piece of a living thing in the outside to die, which is, I feel like, your impression of us. We just feel that the environment has become, the guidelines on how to treat it has become too
Alright, I'm going to
strict.
stop you there. That concludes that question, and we're going to go to our final question of the governor's debate here tonight. Your duties as governor are to serve the public and make sure that our society can operate in the proper and most efficient way to keep Greenland collective and together. We will now allow you to make one final statement that will address the people of this country to show that you believe in what you will accomplish as governor. You will then be able to discuss with one another. So we're going to start with Halia. You may begin your 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Now, I've said multiple times during this debate that I represent the Congressionalist People's Party, and that the Congressionalist People's Party stands for the people, as it says in its name. We stand for people, for community that fosters people, and for the way that people can grasp their dreams in their hands and work towards what they want to be and do and dream. Now, as a young child, I grew up in a neighborhood that was not so unlike the ones that my welfare advisor mentioned earlier. Low income, rampant with crime, and the community in that neighborhood was what made me grow up into who I am today. I would work every day at a low income job to just try and get some food on the table, help my mother with chores, and eventually I grew up enough that I was teaching the other kids in the neighborhood how to read and write because their parents couldn't afford to send them to school. The most important part of my policies is that I want every child to succeed, every child who lives and dreams. I want them all to succeed because their country should not be working against them. Their government shouldn't be their enemy. And that's what I want to stand for as your governor. Thank you.
All right. And with those final statements from Holia, we're going to send it over to Abby for your final statements to the people of Greenland. Your time starts now.
As societalists, we believe in the individual success of our nation's citizens. We want to see you thrive in your own passions, in your own talents, in your own ways. We want you to be as unique as you possibly can and be as successful as you possibly can in your own way. And I'm blanking, oh my gosh. Can you create what I was supposed to be answering?
You're just saying your final
my final
statement.
statements, yes.
Whatever you want to say.
Whatever I want to say. We want to help the citizens of Greenland succeed as workers in their own right. And we are not their enemies. We want to help them as much as they can, find what they want to do as individuals, and to foster a community that is not so the same, but it's like a nation of people who is all different and all successful in their own way. And if that's joining the military or being a scientist or being a writer through their schooling, they will succeed in whatever way they please with us. And yes, yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Both spent about 1.5 minutes there each. So now we're going to open it up to the floor. You may debate.
What floor?
We're going to open it up to both of you to discuss your final remarks here and just kind of give your final arguments to each of the parties. So we're going to give you 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes is going to start right now.
Whew. Well, that certainly was a debate. I'd like to go back to businesses because I feel like we left that on
businesses.
I feel like we left that on a strange note. As I was saying earlier, I grew up in a small income neighborhood, so I know personally how it is to be extorted by large businesses, to be extorted by people who, frankly, couldn't care less about your own well-being. That is why we have these policies in place, not to be suffocating, not to injure anyone's well-being, not to ruin anybody's hope for success. It's so that everyone can be equal and have an equal chance. And working these minimum wage jobs for someone who gets way too much money to even... It baffles me how much money these people make in a day, frankly. And being used by people who, frankly, don't need it. That's why we have these policies that we want to put in place. Because it's important that people and children aren't being extorted.
As the governor, wouldn't you have been at the top in this pyramid? The governor would be at the top of the pyramid in the country. You seem to be against anyone who's at the top of any pyramid in any financial scheme.
That's funny. No. As governor, I work for the people. And as governor, I am not, frankly, any different than any other person. My work and my job is to protect the people of Greenland, to make our country safer, to make our country healthier, and to make the next generation successful.
How are you planning to protect them if you're planning on creating a new entire defense system? Because if I recall, Your plan with the war with Hickeyvania was to concede and hope they would sign a peace treaty, and you can't guarantee that the leader of that country will be just as willing to just claim peace on both lands.
Right. And after, if a peace was not made, that would be the job for the head of the military.
You said you wanted to get rid of the military.
I said I wanted to defund the military, make it smaller. Now, that job would then go to the military. But the point of our policies is that peace should always be the first option, not the last. A peace treaty should not be signed at the end of the war, but before one even begins.
So you want to approach all wars by giving the leader of the other country a piece of paper saying, will we be peaceful throughout the rest of history? Because people will have already been dying if we've been attacked. So when we are attacked, your plan is to hope they go for peace, and you don't want to attack back.
You realize we've recently started creating a peace treaty with Hickeyvania. We're working on it now in meetings with their leaders. Well, not my administration, the administration that currently resides as governing. But they're currently working on a peace treaty that actually my administrators helped write. And the important thing about that peace treaty is that it not only holds Hickeyvania accountable for the lives that they cost us, but it makes sure that nothing like this will happen in the future. Now, to hold Hickeyvania accountable, we of course would have reparations that they need to be signed, and we are debating on that now in their country. We are taking these steps to find peace and solidarity and representation for the lives that were lost.
But what if, in the case, Hickeyvania is not the only country. If we're attacked by a country we don't have a peace treaty with, what will you do because you don't want to have a strong military to defend us?
We didn't have a peace treaty with Hickeyvania before they attacked.
Yes, and we had a military, though. We had a strong military that we went to war with them, and we fought.
And how many people in our military came back dead?
They didn't come back, they were dead.
Alright, please proceed. This is not a funny topic here. This is very sensitive. There are many viewers at home whose children and family members have passed away from that war. So, please proceed with this debate, as the time is up now, so ignore that.
Is that where you're gonna end it?
The time is up. We're gonna end it there. That concludes our open debate session here from the governmental debates, and then we will be back with live coverage after the fact. At this time, I'd like to have all of tonight's candidates on stage on your respective sides, please. And as a reminder before the election, your candidates for this evening are Kobe Henderson, Congressionalist Judicial Secretary; Aiden Ketchum, Congressionalist Welfare Secretary; Aaliyah Dice, Congressionalist Governor candidate; and then on the other side we have Evie Zolls, your Socialist Governor candidate; Evan Brostek, your Socialist Judicial Secretary; and Evan Lee, Socialist Welfare Secretary. Thank you, everyone who made this.
Good evening, everyone. Today, right now, is the time we've all been waiting for, the time of the Greenland elections. We have our two parties tonight, the Congressionalists and the Societalists. So, very quickly, I'm going to explain how this election works. So, our 70 representatives who are representing the people will each vote for a specific candidate representing their district. Whichever party gets the most votes per district wins the race. Now, how the election is going to work, every single minute, starting at 7 o'clock sharp, we will get 2 votes available to us. So at 7:01, 2 of the votes will be available, 7:02, 2 more, and so on and so on. These votes have been calculated from a north to south longitude, where the northern district is, the earlier they voted over the span of probably the last 10 minutes, I'd say. So, we are currently at 6:59 in 30 seconds. So, in the next 30 seconds, we should be seeing some of our first initial votes come in this slideshow. So, we're going to give it 15 more seconds here. And just a friendly reminder, I mean, it's politics, so we're getting ready to decide the new governor between Leah Dice and Abby Selves. So, as we go on to 7 o'clock, we can now see some of our initial votes start to come in. So at 7:01, we will get our first 2 votes. So as you can see how we have our map set up, we have our live election map right here with all of our districts from 1 to 70. Then we have some overlays over here of our common swing districts, which are going to be something that you're going to want to pay attention to as the evening progresses. And yes, and then we have the previous race election results, so we can compare and contrast. So, and then we have all of our parties where the scorers will be tabulated down there. So we're just going to give it about 20 more seconds until our first 2 votes will come in, and we will see what they are, and we will be analyzing each vote as it comes in. So we have 10 more seconds until we can uncover our next set of votes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. So, if we look over at District 66, it has been won by the KBB party, which did win it in a previous election. It was not a common swing state, so it was a state that's pretty much a KBB safe hold, so it's not too surprising that that one was won. And then we have District 67, which has been given to the Congressionalists. If we look over here, District 67 was also won by the Congressionalists in the previous election, not a swing state. So we have 30 more seconds here. Just again, let's look at maybe the previous election. 1 United, 38 Congressionalists, 27 Socialists, and 4 KBB. A pretty low year, I would say, for some of our other parties, rather than the 2 Congressionalists and the Societalists. So 10 seconds, we will get our next 2 votes in, and we will see what those results entail. Okay, 2 more votes of the Societalists now. If we look at our notes here that will be popping up throughout the evening, the Societalists have won 1 swing state and a district previously won by Congressionalists. Okay, so let's look deeper into this. So District 69 is a swing district previously won by the Societalists, but this is very interesting. If we look at District 68 here, it was won by the Congressionalists last race, and it is not a common swing district. So that is very something very interesting to look at. We're currently at 1 Congressionalist, 2 Societalists, and our 1 KBB voter. Around 10 seconds to go until we get our next minute of results. Okay, 3, 2, 1. We now have our 703 votes with 4 Societalists. Societalists have won 2 more swing states, and another district previously won by the Congressionalists. So if we look, we have districts 57 and 58, both of which are common swing districts. One of them was won by the Societalists last year. Oh no, one of them was won by the Congressionalists last year, but this year has succumbed to the Societalists. And we still have that 1 KBB vote and the 1 Congressionalist vote. So, let's see, currently we have, out of all of the swing states that have currently voted, all of them have decided to go for the Societalists, but I don't think any Societalist safe picks or Congressionalist safe picks other than District 68 have been won by the opposing party. So we now have a few seconds, 3, 2, 1, for our next set of votes. Okay. Interesting. So, Societalists have won a previously KBB district, but lost a former safe district. Both of them were not swing districts. So we have each party has won, on their own respective numbers, a non-swing district. So if we look, the KBB has voted in District 70 in the previous election, but in this election, they have decided to go for the Societalists. And District 38, which is a Societalist safe pick, went Congressionalist this time around. I would assume that, and again, either of those swing districts, I would assume that might have something to do with the demographics of the people so far that live in these two districts, but we're going to get onto our next votes in just a few seconds here. 3, 2, 1. Okay, 7:05. 2 more, if I'm not mistaken, votes for the Societalists. They have won another previously KBB district. So, if we look at the KBB in the previous election, they only won 4 districts, and so far they have lost 3 of those 4, no, 2 of those 4, my apologies, to the Societalists, which is something very interesting. And then District 63, which is a non-swing, a Societalist safe district, has also decided once again to vote for the Societalists. And we will get our next votes in about 20 seconds or so. The chart is filling in. We have the first big top row of nations on here, and we will be getting our next results soon. We have 2 Congressionalists, 7 Societalist votes, and 1 KBB. We will be finding out our next 2 votes in just a few seconds here. Okay, ooh, 6:07. So the Societists have won another previously KBB's district, which means that the KBB has lost all but one of their previous districts from the last election. And District, I think, 64 has also decided to go for the Societalists, which is a safe pick for them. So we currently have 9 Societalists votes at, 7:06 p.m. It's very interesting that the KBB has seemed to lose quite a bit of their followers this time around to the Societalists, which makes me curious as to how the KBB is going to perform as we go on through the race, if they're even going to get any more votes, because I wouldn't think that some of these outer districts would decide to go for KBB at the last minute, but we will now be getting our next 2 votes. Let's see. District 36 and 37 have voted for Congressionalists for District 37, and 36 has voted for the Societalists, both of them not swing states, and both of them safe picks from the previous election. What is interesting is if we look over here, Districts 37 and 38 have both decided to go for the Congressionalists in this race. Now, District 37 obviously is where Shea Quantal, a pretty large population of people, arises. But we have a lot of the other Quantals, which are in District 38, like Vegas Quantal, and I think Short Bay Quantal are in District 38. And I guess those bigger populations have decided to go for the Congressionalists, which is something interesting. The bigger populations, so far at least, have seemed to be going that way. Anyway, we are now going to be getting our next set of votes. Let's see, up in the north, again, the Societalists have won 2 more swing districts. Now, they did win these districts in this past election, so it might not be too surprising, but as we're looking closer, we can see that the population density of this area, which is kind of the western portions of Greenland, even though they have some dense population, they seem to have decided to go for a more societalist mindset, and it could just be percentages, how this system works, is how that works. But now we have 3 Congressionalist votes, 12 Societalist votes, and our 1 unfortunate lone KBB vote. And in a few seconds here, we will be going on to our next 2 districts, and here they are. So, the Congressionalists have won one of their swing districts, and also won another one of their safe districts, which brings the congressionalists up 2 points. If we look, okay, so if we look close here, obviously, this is the city of Birchwood. Sherwood, excuse me. The city of Sherwood is quite puzzling, actually, now that I look at it, considering a lot of the city center is around this section. But the District 68, something that's quite intriguing me, as it is a quite highly populated area with a majority of the city's business district involved in District 68. So 10 seconds here, we will be getting our next 2 sets of votes. So let's look. Okay, and okay, 7-10. We have congressionalists have won the majority of their first major city with 2 more votes, I believe, if I'm correct. They have won District 54 and 61, which were safe picks and not swing states, so they've won these districts quite a lot in the past. They have won the majority of the city of Sherwood. Now, again, that District 68 and maybe even a little bit of 58 is something that is quite confusing, as the congressionalists won both of these districts in the previous election. One of which was a swing state, but the other one was not a swing state. One of them is a completely brand new member of the Societalist voters. So, in just a few seconds here, we will be getting to our next votes. It is currently 7-10, almost a third of the way through our votes. So, 7-11 now. Congressionalists have won a non-safe, non-swing district. District 50, which is still in the outskirts, was not a swing state, but has been won by the Congressionalists, which is something very interesting, considering a district like District 68 went from a non-safe Societalist district, all of a sudden voting Societalist, to a non-safe Congressionalist district, all of a sudden voting for the Congressionalists. And of course we have our safe haven District 49, which is the northern outskirts of the city of Oceanside, which is, again, a city center, which is just something to think about so far as we look at these results, as we go forward into the evening. Now with the Congressionalists at 9 votes, Societalists at 12, and probably the only vote for the KDB, which is currently sitting at 1. So in 2 seconds now, we will be getting to our next set of votes. Let's see. The Societalists have won another swing district that was previously won by the Congressionalists. Now, these Societalists have won another one. Now let's see, which one would that be? Oh, right here. So these two, if I'm not mistaken. District 62 was previously won by the Congressionalists, but as a swing state, it has shifted over to the Societalists, and District 40, which was a safe district for the Societalists, have also went Societalist in this round. So I'm just going to take a little mental note for myself real quick, just so I don't get jumbled up in which districts are being voted on. We have just around 15 seconds until our next set of votes come along. 9 Congressionalists, 14 Socialists, and again, that 1 KBB vote, which, you know, I would assume that number is not going to increase this evening. So we have our next set of votes coming right now at 7:13 with, we have 2 more of our Oceanside districts, District 47 and 48, both voting for the Congressionalists, it seems. As you see, it is a quite big city, the city of Oceanside, and their 2 other pretty much northern central districts have voted for the Congressionalists in this election, which is not something unheard of for a quite big city population that is Oceanside. So let's see, let's look at some of the things that have happened so far. So immediately what I can tell is that the Societalists, if I'm not mistaken, have won every single swing district in the northwest portion of Greenland. That is just something I wanted to point out right now. In about like 5 seconds or so, we will be getting into our 7:14 results. Pretty much over a third of the way there. 7:14, the Congressionalists have won another major city. So it seems that the Congressionalists, as we suspected, have won the majority of Oceanside here, as they have in a lot of previous elections. It's not really a contested spot, but it is another city center. So the Congressionalists have won another city center, which is something that we have seen quite a lot of in previous elections. But let's look at something that I am a little bit intrigued by. So if we look here, these middle districts and these middle lines of districts, these are what's called the Great Highway line of cities, because we have this big Great Highway that connects Greenville to Sherwood, and there's a lot of pretty decently sized towns very close together in this area. So I'm very interested to see what they vote for. All of them pretty much are swing, all previously voted Congressionalists. Based off of these ones, I'm curious to see where they're going to go in this election. Just a few more seconds now until we get to our 7:15 votes. Both parties have now won individual swing districts, and the Societalists have flipped another previously congressional district. So we have our first look over here at what I was just talking about, which seems to be this middle passage. Previous election, District 51 voted for the Congressionalists, but now have voted for the Societalists. District 53 is a swing state previously won by the Congressionalists, who they have won again. Now, I've been talking a lot of smack, I will say, about the Congressionalists in this middle passage, but I will point out that the Congressionalists are at 14, with the Societalists at 15. So the Societalists are still in the lead. As of right now, a little bit over a third of the way to go, by the way. Goes until 7:35 is when the last possible time we will find out is. If it is a sweep, there's a point of no return, it will obviously end sooner. But let's see how that goes. So just a few seconds here. We will get to our next votes at 7:16. Two more Societalists votes. One of them, nope, both of them being safe for the Societalists. So it is not technically a loss for the Congressionalists, but it's not a gain either. As you can see, this middle passage is kind of starting to fill in. We will see in the next couple of minutes that this middle passage is going to be filled with various different votes, which is something that needs to be looked at, because as this election moves forward, these middle districts are very important because it's where quite a lot of the population resides in, and they fulfill quite a lot of the votes won by their respective party. So, just a few seconds here, we will get to our 7:17 votes, and here we are. 7:17. The Societalists have miraculously won two previously won congressional swing districts, okay? Districts 52 and 41, as I was just saying previously, both of them swing districts, both of them previously voting for the Congressionalists, have switched this election. Districts 52 and 41, both previously voted for the Congressionalists, have swung their votes over to the Societalists this year. Now, I was saying this area is quite important in our race, and is something to really be monitored. Now, the difference from the previous election, I would almost not say it's such a harrowing deal, because of the fact that you gotta remember the Congressionalists won by 9 votes last year. So that's just something to think about as we go into our next set of votes here at 7:18. Okay. Ooh, this is interesting. Our largest and most crucial city, Greenville, has begun releasing their election results. Now, this is something we see quite often, even though Greenville is quite low in our area. They still sometimes start their votes quite early. So we look here and we can see that obviously districts 2 and 5 have voted Congressionalists. This is not something surprising. The city of Greenville is kind of like the Congressionalists' weapon, because it is something that they very commonly can steal. There's a lot of votes up for grabs in Greenville. And as we look at our previous election, as you can see, a big majority of especially eastern Greenville is a Congressionalist safe haven. So in the next few seconds here, we're going to be moving on to our 7:19 votes. And here we are. 2 more votes for the congressionalists in the city of Greenville. Now, as the votes for the city of Greenville start to come in, and they probably will be coming in quite rapidly in the next few minutes, the congressionalists are going to experience a little bit of a boost, historically, obviously, because the city of Greenville is a city and home to a large population. And obviously we continue looking outwards. As we can see so far in this election, so far the main cores of the cities, besides maybe District 68 and Sherwood, have been complete safe havens for the Congressionalist Party. But the outskirts, if we look over here, there's a lot of swing districts up for grabs in the outskirts of Greenville, which is something to very much pay attention to, how they vote for, because it's going to be something that's quite important. In the next few seconds here, we will get our next set of votes. The Congressionalists have won a previously United Party district, and then another district, which puts the the Congressionalists, my apologies, in the lead for the first time tonight so far. Now, this is actually very interesting, as it says, a previously United Party district, District 3, is the home of our nation's capital building, and a lot of government officials live in District 3. Historically, without even being a swing district, have voted for the United Party. But they have not this time around. The United Party has not gotten this very crucial vote, which might put the United Party out of the race entirely, getting 0 votes, and still that one lone KBB vote, which I don't know if that is going to increase as the night goes on. But in the next few seconds here, we will be getting our 721 vote. Okay, the United Party has officially dropped out of this election. I guess the previous upset of losing District 3 has really put the peril against them. I guess the United Party has officially stated that they are dropping out of this election. So no more possible votes can even physically be won for the United Party. I'm just going to step back a little bit so I can break the entire setup. So I'm just going to give this a few more seconds as I point out my next 2 votes. But it is important to mention that a few more districts, I believe Districts 8 and 9 in Greenville, have also gone for the Congressionalists, which increases the Congressionalists' number once again. We are getting 10 seconds away. We are about pretty much 2/3 of the way through this election so far, with the Congressionalists leading with 22. And now we have our 722 votes. We have 2 more, or I guess there's one. Okay, so these 2 districts right here. One of them was a swing district, was won by the Congressionalists. So the Congressionalists have won one of the swing districts that I was pointing out, and the Societalists have won District 42, which is a safe for them. So just excuse me a few seconds while I go and check our barometers, if they're still functioning. So, my apologies. So, we're now going to continue onward as we have a few more seconds left until our results continue. So currently the numbers stand: Congressionalists 23, Societalists 20. Still a pretty close race. Again, that one KBB district, which I can pretty much say it's safe to assume will not be increasing tonight. I would not think that they would drop out, but that is something that is possible, and they do choose where their vote goes to. The Congressionalists have won another swing district. Let's see, District 26 and 25. So this is really interesting. So District 26 is not a swing state, it's a safe haven for the Societalists. But District 25 is a swing state, which was won by the Societalists in the last election. And it is a big, prominent district along the coastline. Now, I guess this is something I never really considered before, but so far, the majority of coastline districts have decided to go for the Congressionalists this election. This isn't because the party supported beach houses and stuff like that, but I would assume it's because of different factors such as the density of the people around the coastline. In just a few seconds here, we will get our next portion of votes. So at 7:24 now. the Congressionalists have won another swing district, another coastline district, District 24, a prominent coastline district, and District 20, which is another safe haven. So the Congressionalists have just recently won 2 swing districts, which is something very interesting to point out. I would like to ask our operators really quick if they could move this one light just a bit adjacent over that way so it's not blocking our barometer's reach of the audience, and just to be careful as you're doing that. Thank you very much. In a few seconds, a few moments here, we will be getting into our next portion of results in about 10 seconds. Let's see. Just a few moments here. Congressionalist 25, Societalist 22. Okay, 7:25 now. We will see that the Societalists have won 2 more non-swing safe votes, bringing the total up to 25 Congressionalists and 24 Societalists. So the Congressionalists are still in the lead with a big chunk of change picked up with all of our cities, including the majority of the city of Greenville, which has voted so far, and the coastlines, apparently, as it seems to be. Obviously, we have some pretty densely cities dotted along the coastline here. It's very interesting to see who they decided to go for in the selection. Just about 20 seconds until our next results here. Again, KBB still at their lonesome one. I'm afraid to probably formally announce that the KBB will not be winning this election. And will most likely stick with this one vote for the remainder of the night. 7:26. The Societalists have won 2 more swing districts, one of them previously won by the Congressionalists. So let's look over here. If I'm not mistaken, these are districts 31 and 32. 31 is a safe haven for the Societalists. No, it's not. Both of these districts are swing districts. One of these won by the Societalists last year, and one of these won by the Congressionalists last year. The one won by the Congressionalists last year has decided to go for the Societalists this year, bringing our totals to 25 Congressionalists and 26 Societalists. Now, something I did point out towards the beginning here, this middle passage is something very important to look at. So far, the majority, I'd say, of this middle passage swing states district I'm talking about has decided to go for the Societalists, with only one district, District 33, being won by the Congressionalists. Just a few seconds here. At 7:27, we will be getting into our next results. So 7:27 now. Societalists have won another swing district, previously won by the Congressionalists. Let's see which district this would be. This would be 34 and 35. 35 being a swing district that was previously won by the Congressionalists, has now been won by the Societalists. And District 34, which is a Societalist safe haven, has also again been won by the Societalists. Again, it might seem a little scary, but the Congressionalists and the Societalists still only stand at a 3 point difference at this current point in the evening. It is getting to be quite a close election, and it does not seem, so far at least, that this will be a swing, or a landslide. This will be a quite painful one for our people watching. I'm predicting, later, as we head into, in just a few seconds, 7:28 p.m. Societalists have won yet another swing, previously Congressionalist district, this being District 29, which is a swing district, and the District 21, which is not a swing district, it's a Societalist safe haven. This middle passage is getting quite filled with Societalist votes. I would think that Districts 38 and 28 will be coming up very shortly. We are getting down to the wire here. There's only 7 possible minutes left until we find out the votes, but we still have the city of Greenville, the majority, the rest of the city of Greenville, to vote, to go. So just 10 seconds here until we get to our 6 minutes possible to find out who the votes will be for. Just a few seconds here. It is now 7:29. Officials have now released a 35 votes to win metric. The first party who gets to 35 votes will secure this election. We have two parties that did vote. One of the districts was a societalist haven that was won by the societalists, but another one was a non-swing district in the city of Greenville that was won by the Congressionalists. So the city of Greenville has another Congressionalist vote that is not typical of Greenville. They don't typically vote that way in this certain region. They don't typically vote societalists. They do typically vote societalists, but they've decided to go... No, District 6. District 6. Just a few seconds here. We will be getting into 7:30. There are 5 possible minutes left. The first district to get to 35 wins the race. We have 27 congressional, 32 societalists. I have paid a little bit less attention to this portion of the map, just as these numbers are kind of trickling in, you can kind of look in there, but we do have a new note here. The Congressionalists have only won 4 swing districts, but have won 3 safe societalist districts. The societalists have won 11 swing districts, but only 1 safe congressionalist district. So this is a disproportionate number. Winning a safe district for the other party is something quite crucial. It's not something that we see a lot. As this next time comes in, we may have a 1 point to win conclusion in our next time around, but I'm not sure. I will be checking our barometer in just a few moments to make sure it is still functioning, but we will be getting our next votes right now at 7:31. The Congressionalists have won 2 other swing districts. One of them was previously a societalist district. So this is something very interesting I can kind of point out here. District 16 and 17. One of them was previously won by the societalists. One of them was previously won by the Congressionalists. But now have both decided to vote for the Congressionalists in this race, bringing the total up to 29 Congressionalists and 32 societalists. The societalists only need 3 votes to win, and the Congressionalists need 6 more. But as I have said before, the city of Greenville is still casting their votes. So as we move on, and as we get into 7:32, which is quite late for an election, we will be seeing what our next results entail right now. The Congressionalists have won 2 of their safe districts, so this is now unprecedented. These were not swing districts. We expected the Congressionalists to win these districts, but this brings the race up to 1 vote apart. The first one to get to 35 is the one who wins it all. We are currently at 31 Congressionalists and 32 societalist votes, and I highly, highly, highly doubt that the KVB is going to get another one in the middle of Greenville.
They got that.
They don't got that, I'm afraid. We only have 6 more possible votes, so 3 more possible minutes to go until we find out where this goes. Okay. So just 10 seconds now until we get to our next minute at 7:33 p.m. So here we go. Let's see how this goes. The societalists have won a very crucial swing state, which I believe was District 30. As we see, the middle passage has pretty much all the way been filled in by the societalists and not the Congressionalists. There's only 4 votes left. If the societalists win the next 2, they are automatically the winners. If the societalists if there's only one or the other in the next round, then it is, I don't even know what to say. If the Congressionalists win the next 2, they're only 1 away from winning. So this puts us very close together. Okay. Only 4 districts to go, and only 2 more possible votes to come in. Okay. 10 more seconds until we get our 7:34 results. Okay. Oh my god, this is so close. This is so close. Oh my god! The Congressionalists have won two more swing districts. One more vote for the Congressionalists to win it all, and 2 more votes for the Socialists to win. Okay, so are these 2 swing states? Yes, thank you for pointing out. These are 2 swing states. Previously, I don't know what to say.
They can't come back. They're dead.
In the next minute, we will be finding out. We will be finding out our votes in about 30 seconds on who the, I would say, official winner of this debate would be. We are currently in between districts 28 and 13, which I believe. Yes, let me go closer in here. I'll zoom closer in, as we can see each of these districts currently has different votes. Currently just went up by 1. If we look at the Socialists, it's just a few seconds to 7:35. Okay.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
A high crucial. Okay.
I'm being edged, Chad. This is so skibbity. No, not skib.
We're fucked. Oh no.
Two additional districts for the Congressionalist Party. The Congressionalist Party has officially won this election. Here's the official results. 36 for the Congressionalists and 33 for the Socialists. Halia Dice is the brand new governor of the country of Greenland. Aiden Ketchum, the new welfare leader. And Kobe Henderson, the new judicial leader. Now,
Recount.
we have a few statistics over here we can see that have just come in live. So I'm gonna point some of these out as we head into our final results of the night. The Congressionalist Party has won this election. Yeah, I know, right? But so these are all of the districts that were opposite from the previous election. All of these districts decided to vote differently in this election from the last one. And that is quite a bit, as I see just from the naked eye. And these are how each of the swing districts voted. You can see a lot of them decided to go for socialists, but I would say a good amount also went for the Congressionalists this race.
Can I just
so
say why
we are
you
now
leaking out in that photo?
we are now going to invite the winners of the new party up in front of the audience here to make their closing statement for this election night and this debate night.
Who wants to go first?
Miss Governor.
Yeah, it's
You
Governor.
have 30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds? It's really cool. Thanks, guys. It's so cool, and it totally wasn't all Noah. Thank you.
We would like to thank our people, honestly, just for.
I can't wait for Olive Garden.
Also, thank you to all of our
They
competitors.
can't come back, they're dead.
Yes,
They can't come back, they're dead. They can't come back, they're dead.
They
They can't come back, they're dead.